Good evening, everybody. How we doing?
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
I think my hat might be dirty. I just noticed that as I looked in the camera.
Just means you're getting stuff done, right?
It means it's probably drywall dust. I went down there to look. Just kidding. All right. Um,
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening,
How's everybody?
just want to get those technical difficulties out of the way, Just
I
once a
mean,
stream.
what would IT be without bugs and outages and
Pretty boring, honestly.
I
wouldn't
thought
mind
that's why you
boring.
put everything in the cloud so there weren't any outages. Oh, wait a minute. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
There's a
never
topic for
AWS
another
outages.
day.
Did
Yeah, there's a
This
there's
week,
where did I cut out, by the way? Did I just stop talking, or did I ever start talking?
you start talking, but it was like immediately. You're like, hey, you know what?
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
saying my hat was dirty, and it's because there's drywall dust. It wasn't important, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's very
Well-
messy down there. They painted the ceiling today, so ceiling's black. It's open ceiling, and they're painting the walls tomorrow. So we are moving along. Oh, and I have a new door, like back door.
Nice.
They took my
Now
screen,
animals can't walk in and out.
my sliding glass door that was in there. They took it out for a good amount of time today, so I just had a big old hole in my wall. I looked out, I'm like, this is great for the heating bill. But yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome chat.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. 13th is what I meant. I told you, it's one of those days. That's all the paint fumes from the basement just.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I invite everyone to check out the Discord if you're, chatting with us. You come in the
Yeah.
Discord, talk with us off hours also.
Mhm.
We have a YouTube right now. It's a lot. It's where we collect these videos. So if you miss anything, check it out on YouTube.
Mhm.
And if you found this on YouTube, check us out on Discord. Full circle, everybody. The stream 2021 retrospective. That one went out Monday, and next Monday on the 17th, our conversation about our favorite technology features. So that's the next one that's coming out on YouTube. If you missed that last 2 weeks ago, would that have been
Is it
2 weeks
2
ago?
weeks?
No, it's last week.
Last
That was
week was
last week.
favorite technologies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so last week's stream is coming up this Monday.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
Now that the
And
admin's
no,
out of
I'm
the
not
way.
doing shiplap or barn door. Well, let me correct that. I'm not doing shiplap. I am making a barn door for the bottom of the stairs as a baby gate for my goddaughter and my nieces and nephews because it just looks a little better. And the bar is probably going to be a barn door fashion, I guess, where you have like the X's kind of going across. We'll see how it all goes. Yeah. Spirit, Dunce, see you. Hope you guys are doing great. Today, we are going to be discussing some, and I don't know, we kind of discussed very little beforehand just to discuss the topic and not really any details. How much you guys actually deal with paired programming. For me, it's a constant, or it's a daily. We, and I guess we'll start with the basics here. What is paired programming? And a lot of people do it and don't realize it. Like, they don't call it paired programming, or they're not programmers, so it's just working with someone. But it's very beneficial in many fields, besides just programming, in my opinion. But essentially what it is having two people doing the same workload at the same time. In my specific case of software development, it's two developers sitting down, in our case, working from home, so we're remoted in, sharing screens, on mic the whole time, talking to each other, and actually going through and solving a problem in programming together. Like, I'll drive for an hour, then they'll drive for an hour. Sometimes we just have to do it at the same time, throwing ideas back and forth, trying to figure out what we can do. Um,
Yeah, and
uh,
that's a that's a key aspect. There's someone drives and someone sits back and talks and watches them work. Um, that's the difference between peer programming and two people working at the same time, right?
yeah,
If I'm driving, then you're back there going, "Oh yeah, why'd you do that? Oh, that's a good idea," and then eventually we'll switch. So, I mean, not just so people don't fall asleep, but
no, yeah,
um,
that's
that way
definitely
the
part
other
of it.
person drives. Yeah, but watching someone solve a problem gives you so much insight into how they think and what they,
Mhm.
when, what um their methods are, and also since you're not the one driving, you're just watching. You can get an opportunity to um think, spin your wheels in a different way because your hands are free, and
Yeah,
go, wait, you know what? And plus, it's like a concept rubber ducky, something to people might not know what rubber ducky means. So rubber ducky is when
explain it, Anthony.
you explain it to somebody. Yeah, it's well, exactly. It's when you
Rubber
have
ducky,
someone
a
to
rubber
explain
ducky.
something to. Yeah, you explain exactly what you're trying to do, your problem, and you go through all the details in the hopes that either they will understand the problem, help you out, or a lot of times just going through the act of doing that will make you realize something.
Exactly.
Like, so the reason God's called rubber ducky is if you don't have anyone around, you get your little toy rubber ducky out, you put it down, and then you just explain it to the duck. And
Yeah.
if you don't look like a sociopath, maybe you will, but the
I
act of
mean,
explaining it, you might say something, and then
that's what kids are for, you know? Like my son, I'll explain him a very basic programming thing and be like, am I explaining this well enough that he can understand the concept? And if he can, then I know that my higher ups will. That sounded
yeah,
really mean. It wasn't meant to be mean, I promise.
What it means is that
The
O'Grady
non-technicals.
knows it well enough to explain it well enough to a child that they understand.
That's what I'm going for. I didn't mean it to sound mean.
Yeah.
But um but yeah, so
so in other words, he's on the market if anyone's hiring for a experienced
now I am great. Um, yeah, but so that being the rubber duck, bringing that up, um, a good part about that is that while you're either if you're the one driving, explaining what you're doing, or you're the one watching, you're more likely to catch any mistakes that you're making that are what I would consider like the dumb mistakes. You know, like you miss a semicolon or you spell a variable wrong. You know, something like that that you would find eventually after you go back and be like, oh, it was something stupid. But if someone else is watching that, they'd be like, oh, you missed that semicolon on line 13. Like, thank you, because that would have been, a whole release before I saw that. um, so
So
yeah,
I have a
that's
question.
yep. Go ahead.
So the idea here is that you switch places at some point, which um so I'm wondering about the engagement and efficiency in this. So if you have two people working essentially on the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like why don't you just have two people working on separate things and then you can do two things at the same time?
It's a good
We didn't
question.
do introductions. We have O'Grady, the software engineer, Lee Markham, the project manager, who doesn't understand why we can't have two devs doing two things at work,
Why can't
and
you all just
Anthony,
keep
the
working on
engineer.
everything? Well,
So no, I had to say that because that's a lot of management doesn't like this idea.
no, that's true.
Um, yeah, for that exact reason. I mean, two
Mhm.
developers, two whatever,
Yep.
two DBAs, two whatever,
It's either we're paying
working
you
should
60
have
bucks
more
an hour or we
throughput
have to
than one,
pay
right?
120 an hour because we're doing pair programming. You know, I get that.
So
But here's my argument on that. Because I'm a big fan of pair programming. Like, huge fan. It helps me not have a mundane day. You know, I can always bounce ideas off of people throughout the whole day. So my argument to that of doing two things is, and again, I'm going off of my personal situations and my job. You know, you guys might have something different, but we have to do code reviews and we have to do acceptance testing and we have to do all these additional steps. When we do singular programming, which we do sometimes. It's not like it's forbidden, but when we do singular programming, we have to have it code reviewed by another programmer who didn't write it because of author's bias.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When you do two people, we don't require code review
You already
because
got a
Okay.
code review.
we have
built
someone
in.
constantly watching. So that eliminates a big portion of the, of the pipeline, or whatever you want to call it, the release. And then it also leads to fewer mistakes because even in code review, a lot of times you'll miss something stupid. Like, and you usually won't miss a syntax error in code review because something won't build or something won't run properly, so you know it's broken. But you will miss things like logical errors where you think you have the business logic about right, but it's coming out, it's rounding at the wrong place or something like that.
Right.
That's a lot
Okay.
more difficult to catch in a code review because you're not, as ingrained into this project. Whereas, or this card, I would say, 'cause we use cards, from Agile. So when you're doing paired programming, you're a lot more invested in this project even before the code review. That's why we don't even require the code review at two people.
Okay.
Along with acceptance testing, if you do, let's say we have two people, a paired programming, and then there's an acceptance testing, which for those who don't know, acceptance testing is making sure that whatever you just deployed works. Then you have regression testing, which makes sure that you didn't break anything that was working. So we have all been there. Like, what I did worked, but I broke something that was already working. So let's go back to the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
And to clarify acceptance testing, it's not just that it works. It's based off of something called acceptance criteria. So your project owner or your product owner or your project manager or whatever says when you build this feature or you do the story or whatever the case may be, it needs to do A, B, but definitely not do C or something along those lines. Very clear objectives. That's your acceptance criteria. So when they do the review later, when they look at it, did this do A? Yeah. B? Yeah. And you didn't do C, right? Yeah.
Yep. And you bring up a good point. The company I'm with now, C is a big deal for them. Doesn't do this.
It's this. Yeah.
And I love it because I'm not used to being told it shouldn't do this. I'm used to being told do A and B and regression test. Now I get a card that says do A and B, don't do C. But C is something that probably would have naturally happened if I did A and B. Like, I wouldn't have thought about it. C probably would have been
Mhm.
something that just happens. So I really liked when they put in acceptance criteria that says the more detailed, the better. So, I mean, when they say don't do this,
As long as it's clear.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to bring up what Dunce was saying, definitely it helps it be more readable, the code in general or anything you're working on. Because I don't know if you guys are as, I don't want to use the word lazy, as quick as I am when it comes to programming smaller things that I'm just testing. And variables sometimes are just X because I just want to get through this real quick thing just to test it. I'm not pushing out anymore. But
And then it's done and you're excited and you push it out.
okay.
That's what code reviews are for.
That is true. I just realized that I have not muted my tab and I was having a slight echo. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that way it helps you or helps prevent you from making those. I mean, they are essentially lazy mistakes of, hey, I had X as a variable. I'm going back to change it all to whatever you want to call it, and I missed it here. Depending on your code base, it doesn't always replace, when you change a variable, it doesn't always replace all of them. I'm sure with you guys, it probably doesn't ever replace all of them. If you're doing like a stored procedure, I guess you can do like control.
No, that's a visual. As far as I know, and Lee, if you know something different, tell me because I love it. One of the killer features in Visual Studio is you highlight a variable and then you go to rename it, and it's like yo dog, you want to replace this variable name with the name change everywhere? And then you
Yep.
say yes, and then it's all done. Same for classes and all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff.
It's
That would
amazing.
be a killer feature for us lowly data professionals.
Yes.
And everyone, YouTube world, if you watch this, tell me if
Yeah.
there's something that
Make
does
it.
that, or make it.
Yeah.
But
Someone make it. There's enough smart people out there. Like, there's other smart people. Like, you guys make it, we'll use it, and we'll promote it. Look at that, done. But yeah, so
Yeah.
in that kind of case, especially in that kind of case where you don't have that quick replace, or like when I was using Eclipse doing Java, we didn't have that option of just rename all the variables. So going back, when you're doing the paired programming, it helps you find all those little things that, as a solo person, you kind of glance over because you're code blind. You're just like, missed it. So huge benefit there. Um, so what's an example, I guess, that you guys would be able to have of times you've paired, and I don't want, like I said, I'm not want to call it paired programming, but because it's not really the same, I guess, for you guys, but pair development in general.
Lee, did you want to go first, or want me to go ahead?
No, if you have an example, go ahead, because I'm thinking about if I've ever actually done this. I mean, I probably have,
You
but
have,
I
because you've done it with me. So
I did. Okay.
anytime that you say, let's say I bring you a problem, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to figure out the stored procedure, or how does this work, and you walk me through it and we discuss it, that's essentially paired programming.
Okay.
Except I do it 4 hours a day, or at least 4 hours a day every day. Um, so. But Anthony, I think you said you had one, right?
Yeah. So now I was going to say, so technically, peer programming isn't a procedure at my current employer, right? But so that just means that the formality is not there. Like they're not saying, "Hey, peer programming is good. You guys should definitely do it," like your company. But it still accidentally happens. I'm working on
Yep.
a problem. I've been trying to level up my skills in SSIS, not very gracefully, but it's happening. And I have a
We
coworker
can
who's very
talk,
well versed.
by the way, about that. I've been also doing a lot of that. You wanna?
Oh, SSIS, really interesting.
We're spinning up new
So
servers. We'll discuss it later.
now that I have someone around who, I mean, has been living it for a very long time, sometimes I'm working on something and I'm like, I don't understand why I can't get past this. I'm bump my head against it. And then what ends up happening is we end up at each other's desk. And then now we're working through the problem. And next thing you know, it's been an hour. And I'm doing this. No, try this, try this, try this. Or the other way around, right? Like maybe he'll be the driver. Now it's not officially called peer programming, but it's still that situation where someone else is driving, another person's watching, going, "Have you thought about why the hell would you do that?" So on and so forth, right? And we do that more often than we realize. We're just not allowed to call it peer programming. I've
Yeah, I
definitely
think
done it with you, Lee.
yeah. So as you're describing that, uh, I had an example for me from today actually, but I also thought about how you and I have done that quite frequently, especially when I'm having to wrangle T-SQL and I'm like, why won't it do what I want it to do? And I would get you on the yeah, I'm going to choke it into submission. Um, yeah, I mean, I would call you over and we would look at it and you'd be like, oh, it's right here, or try this, and we would rewrite part of it. I do remember that. I guess I struggle because I've never done anything that's ever actually been called paired programming, so I didn't think about like these impromptu sessions that happen between two people
Mhm.
where someone goes, I'm trying to make it do X and it I only have it so far and I can't finish this. How do I finish it? Well, that's impromptu paired programming. It's not like planned. It's just, hey, I need your help because I think you can finish this for me or help me with an idea to finish it. So I did actually do that today with someone. They were trying to, I didn't think of the example. They were trying to figure out a more efficient way to write this query, or looking for ideas to make it go faster, which is 97% of what people come to me with. Make it go faster.
Yeah.
That's usually what I would say. This goes too
And
slow.
yeah. And in this case, I don't think it ever, he never could get it to finish. It just ran forever. So yeah, I mean, I was able to give him some ideas. I gave him a couple links to windowing functions in T-SQL from Kathy Kellenberger, and Brent Ozar has a page on windowing functions. And there was some other idea I gave him about just to experiment to try to see if that would help narrow down the results enough where he could actually get some results and then go, yeah, that looks right, and then build on it from there. So I guess that's an example. I just didn't really realize that I was doing paired programming.
That's
Yeah.
That's what exactly like. That's what I'm trying to make sure that it's not specified just for developers. Like it's, and like how you were like, I don't think I have any examples, and then the next sentence is, well, today, well, then obviously.
Yeah.
So after I listened to Anthony, it clicked with me what we were actually talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
so as far
essentially.
as
Go ahead.
oops, timing. So as far as whenever you have one of these sessions, Lee, whenever you end up driving or talking someone through something and you're watching the work and you spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes doing that, how do you feel usually afterwards? You've had
It
this
depends
problem.
on it depends on whether we had any progress.
Fair enough.
That's
Fair enough.
very true.
Assuming that there's been progress, or at least that the person on the other side feels like there's been progress, then I feel good. I feel like I've helped them. Even in today's case, where we didn't actually rewrite anything, we just talked about ideas. The person was really receptive, and they were thankful for ideas about things they could try, even if we didn't actually change anything in their code today. And so they could go off with the links and the concepts and see if they could make it go faster.
Yep.
And to Dance's point over there in the chat about make it go cheaper in the cloud, certainly if you're in a scenario where you're using pay as you go services or pay as you consume services, when you can make a query go faster, use less CPU, use less IO for disk and all that stuff, then yeah, you not only make it go faster, you make it go cheaper. So
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a little bit of satisfaction, especially with IT folks. I'm definitely with developer types, and when I say that, I don't just mean developers, DBAs. Where when we solve a problem, I mean that's that. Yeah, we're here for the money too, but that's the big thing. Is when we solve a problem, we get that endorphin hit. We're like, yeah, finally, like, oh, that's really cool. Or you're having a problem and you're trying to wrangle something, and someone shows you a new trick or a way that, hey, just do it this way. Oh my gosh, it's so much faster. So there's that job satisfaction, but also, especially in your scenario, Lee, and definitely in mine, when I'm the one that's learning, um, at least one of the people, if not both of them, walk away learning something new.
Yes.
And what's more expensive, a trip to a week-long training thing or a 2-day conference in another state, or paying 2 developers for 1 hour while they solve a problem that you were going to pay one of them to solve anyway? You get that satisfaction. You also get team building camaraderie.
Yep.
And then people walk away learning something. So that was my 45-minute later response to your question. Well, why wouldn't I just have them both work on something? You get a lot out of that time. I mean, I know you support learning on the clock. I've worked with you long enough to know that, like, hey, yeah, employee working a couple of hours on making themselves better is good for everybody. It's good for the company. It's good for the team. And this is an example of that, right? Except you get a product out of the end. So
one of the things I thought about too was, in answer to my own question, as O'Grady was describing what it was and how it looks in his environment, is something that is a benefit, is that if you have 2 people working on something, then two people know the thing.
Yes, that's
And if
The camera,
one
there it
of
is.
them leaves, you still have at least one person who knows whatever that thing is. So that's also a nice benefit
Yeah.
to doing that.
we'll take
And
that
that
a little step further. Not only do both people know the thing now because two people worked on it together, that eliminates those throw it over the wall. Only that guy knows about this part. I mean, we've ran into that with like Twilio.
Yeah.
Twilio is kind of a specialized tool to use, and usually you set it up and you don't really touch it again. It's good to go. Well, then when you have to work on it, well, I haven't worked on it in 4 years. I don't remember any of it. The good thing is, if you pair programmed, you can at least have split that knowledge. But also with onboarding, instead of onboarding and saying, hey, go look at the code base, you need to learn it, you know, you need to learn the structure, go look at the documentation, you can start day one saying, hey, you're going to jump in with so and so today and just start programming with him. They don't have to expect anything with you. But again, my own personal experience at this new company I started with. Day one, I was programming, and they told me we expect 0 things of you um, until you're fully onboarded, which for them was, they said, 3 to 4 months. But by constantly being involved in the code base, even if I'm not the one at the time doing the coding, I'm able to see how it's interacting with each other, what's connecting where APIs are, and how they're being called, and which apps are calling those APIs. So the general knowledge and just overall structure of the code is able to be identified before truly even starting writing. I guess
Yeah.
in your situations, maybe just showing them around the databases and seeing what you have available, going over different permissions or basic training things.
Mhm.
I just remembered. I know a peer programming situation for you, Sean, not even for myself. Do you remember my first week when we had the same employer? I spent at least a week with you. I don't remember if it was
Mhm.
2 or not. And I was just, peer programming. They don't call it that.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and you're solving problems in front of me. And it's a great way for me to learn the lay of the land. And I realized that, it's like Simba holding up, not Simba, Mufasa holding up Simba. And like,
Rafiki.
yeah, this
Rafiki.
is, here's everything the sun touches is
Oh yes.
our area,
Okay.
right? And then I was like, what did I get myself into? But that's great. What's that dark area over there? Yeah, no, we don't talk about that.
That's tickets. That's what that
That's
is.
the database area.
That's where Lee works.
But yeah, and then I learned a lot sitting there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just you showing me things and doing the show and tell. It was like, well, we gotta fix this. Oh, well, where's that? Oh, it's over here. And sometimes you knew, and sometimes you had to find it. And I got to see how you found it. I learned a lot about how you think, and I was able to offer suggestions. And then you got a
Yep.
feel for what I think.
Mhm.
Who's this jackass? That kind of thing. So
That's when I quit. No.
no.
So a hang up I have during those kinds of scenarios is looking at code and thinking to myself, I try not to say this out loud, but like thinking to myself, but why? Like, why did you do that? That's awful.
Yeah, that's true.
During peer
and,
programming,
Just in general.
in general, but like if somebody's showing me something,
Hold on. Go ahead.
I don't know if maybe it's because I focus on like, I try to focus on the best way to do things if there is a best way. And when I see something that doesn't fit that, I have a really hard time holding back and like not saying something that comes across critical.
Yeah.
The person isn't concerned about me critiquing the code that they have. They're concerned about me understanding what it does. And sometimes I just get hung up on the thing I see that I wish they hadn't done. So
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And that's also a cultural thing. But there's also difference, like I was saying, why peer programming is different than just giving someone a tour. Right. If you give someone's giving you a tour, then you kind of don't want to be like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Um, as much. But when it's peer programming, like in the scenario I just gave, it's my first couple weeks with the company, and again, I was with O'Grady, and he he was solving problems, right? He wasn't just giving me a tour, and while solving the problems, I'm engaged. My brain's going, well, how do I solve this problem? And then I hear how he does it, and then I see him go, well, in order to get this information, we have to go over here. I can't do this way because this other system is working on that. Let's go to that system, check it out. And then without just being a tour, I'm solving problems in my head while he's solving problems. And I think that's a little bit of the different.
Yeah.
Sure.
And,
That is different.
yeah. And culturally, if I'm doing a peer review with you, Lee, and I'm doing a thing and you hit that WTF level where you've said, why are you doing this? You actually are supposed to. You said, well, why would you do it that way? You should really do it this way.
Yep. That's one of the main
That-
advantages of having two
Right.
people. I mean, it might be
Okay.
it might be frustrating when you have to do that for both parties because you're looking at the one person who wrote it saying, now I have to rewrite it this way that Lee wants me to do it. But in a proper pair programming or, working relationship in general, when you go to someone and you're working with them, you have the understanding of we both bring different things to the table. When I get corrected in code, I never feel like slighted or anything. Like it's never, unless it's something that I know is correct, because I've been there. But for the most part, very, very, very rarely do you feel like you're being put on the spot or like being talked down to, I guess, is what you're more afraid of, Lee, or afraid of portraying. Because it's more about gaining that knowledge than it is about looking good, At least, again, I can only talk personal, but for me, I've said this a couple times. I don't know if I've said it on here, but if you need to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old for me to explain it, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old, because then that means I'm going to understand something and learn it.
Then you can move up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can start off by talking to me like I know what I'm talking about, but as soon as I no longer give the vibe that I know what I'm talking, that I know what you're talking about, feel free to dumb it down. And I would not feel like you're, talking down to me. I just feel like that's what I would need to explain to understand it. But in the end, like Anthony was saying, how you feel at the end, am I walking away with knowledge that I didn't have before this? Well, if I did, I don't care how you talk to me or how you explain it to me.
Can I respond to Dunce?
No. Yes.
So he just said, you'll talk about it and decide on what's the best approach, even if you don't completely agree.
Well, yeah.
Like when the lawyers tell you that something's acceptable as long as you can accept the risk involved. 100%. Like there's trade-offs. Sometimes we are like, I've definitely had this conversation a lot lately. We should do this way. This is the best way to do it. But this is in the way. Well, deliberation, yes, it's acceptable to do it the less desirable way. Trying to think of the most recent situation this happened. Oh, so we're trying really hard to get in the habit of when you make a change, there should be a code review, right?
Yep.
Recently, somebody was working on a ticket. They made a change. It went into production, and it had a chain lightning effect where it affected this, that, the other thing. A lot of little things. One big thing that got a lot of attention. And then so it happened to where every time we got a production bug, we're like, oh, it's that thing again, right? And we're like almost afraid to bring it up because it's going to start sounding like we're dogpiling on the change, right? But the change was requested and it needed to happen. Anyway, we're trying. My point is we were trying to get this culture where we're going to do code reviews, right? This is happening for about a week. We're talking about a lot. One day last week, something that affects lawyers, that affects high level people, with a C in their title, um, needed to be fixed within an hour, right? Like we
Yeah.
we have a hard deadline. This has to get fixed, or we're going to be in trouble. So there's no time to do the code review that's take 3 days, right? So we discussed it and we said, this is the fix. I had someone look over me, which counts as a code review, right?
Yeah.
I had someone who understood this, look at it, put it out. We did some testing. We moved it up the chain. It hit production. And then luckily everything worked out. The trade-off was we ended up doing a code review afterwards. Because if there's something that's not ideal, because a lot of code reviews, like you really should have done this way, this future proofs it, this naming's wrong. That stuff doesn't affect production today. And again, what Dunn said, there's a trade-off there. We just did the code review afterwards and had other people look at it.
Agreed. And the not only the code review, but which I think we talked about. Sorry, I was sending a message. I think we talked about at some point documentation, or I brought up to you guys at least before about do you guys do documentation, or is it a common practice? When you're working with someone, you not only are sharing the knowledge of like how the actual technology works, but you're also sharing the knowledge of how it's programmed now. So therefore, either one of us can do documentation on it, as opposed to me doing the code, me doing the documentation, and then someone else doing the code review. You can kind of split it up a little bit. I did want to bring up that this isn't the ideal situation if you are doing just a small change. So we all know the difference, I feel like, at this point, that a small change versus a big change. I guess for chat, or just to clarify myself, I consider a smaller change something that's, even if it broke in production, really wouldn't be noticed or make a difference.
A low risk change.
Yeah, very low risk.
So not dropping tables.
Yes, not doing it.
Not dropping importance tables.
Or, yeah. So yeah, in that case, it may not be super beneficial to say we're going to sit here and do this together. If it's a 10-minute task and it's low risk, there's also that opportunity for you to teach yourself, for you to learn. For me, I feel like I learn a lot through pair programming, but I also learn a lot from getting frustrated and getting stuck on things. Yeah. Errors and getting stuck on things help me. I just learned a lot about PowerShell today, because not a big PowerShell guy, just not really for any reason, just never really had much of a demand for it. And now we are building servers to migrate our current application to a new server because we're rewriting it. So the pipelines and everything have to change. But regardless, we're standing up some new servers. Well, those servers have like certs and different aliases and all that stuff that we were setting up. Well, I knew basic PowerShell, and by getting frustrated enough, I learned a lot of PowerShell.
We learn a lot by stubbing our toes.
In this last week, yeah, syntax and all kinds of stuff. But the cool thing is, today I paired program on it and was able to teach to spread that knowledge to the other person pair programming with me, so they didn't have to go through Google and search 4 hours of freaking PowerShell commands to try to get stupid IIS administrator working. Whatever. I don't even want to think about it. But at the end of the day, and this goes back to Anthony asking how you feel after you finish pair programming. At the end of the day today, we had our pipeline. We used Azure DevOps, and We had our pipeline had just all the gold stars on it, or the green check marks, I think it is now.
Check marks.
Yeah,
Big great had gold stars. Like, good job, it didn't fail.
I think we have some other application that uses gold stars, but yeah. So we had a big column of green check marks. I'm like, we did it! Like that's the ultimate. Look,
Yeah.
we did that together. It's a bunch of green, and then I'm like, I'm going home. Yeah, because I was so tired.
Today, I got a pipeline working. Oh, Dad, when did you start working the oil field?
I'm getting pretty in depth on some of this DevOps stuff. By no
Nice.
fault of my own, but you know, when there needs a spot to be filled and then something needs to be done, it's like, well, time to learn it.
We're all
Yeah.
a little full stack sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, I'm standing up servers and writing DevOps right now. So
cool. You mentioned, Grady, you mentioned documentation, which made me think about something I've been doing, which actually is another paired programming thing. I just didn't think of it that way.
Hey,
So at this new job I've been at for 7 months now.
yeah.
I guess
Side note:
almost
when do we stop saying it's a new job? Because I'm about at
I
that
don't know.
point too, where I'm like, it's been like 5 months.
Yeah, it's not really a new job,
4 months.
but but even that many months in, you still encounter lots of new things. And I'm trying to learn a process that exists at this employer for installing SQL Server and doing post-install config so that it's ready. And the last time we did a major walkthrough, which was only time number 2 for me, of how this process works, I wrote down a bunch of notes and then transferred that to a Word doc. So I would have a list of steps, and I continue to refine those steps as I'm actually doing the work of installing and post-install config. And then I actually was going over part of it today because I was telling the senior DBA there that this particular part didn't seem to be working. So I send him a screenshot and he's like, oh yeah, it's working. What you see in that screenshot is just a different measurement of what you're looking for. So you're looking for, in this case, I was looking for 2048 to signify 2 megabytes. That is the allocation unit on a disk.
also good game.
And the way that it was being displayed was in bytes, not what I was looking for. So so that was another paired programming or paired development kind of scenario that happened today as a result of me trying to get documentation working and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, documentation in general, I think, works well with paired programming. Being able to spread load the work, because depending on how you do your documentation, how in depth it is, how much you actually go into the process as opposed to just explaining the process. Yeah, the more people you have helping you with that, the better. We're all taking a trip with Lee. I asked him to move his camera down
I'm
a little
trying
bit.
to
The camera's
fix it.
giving you
It's kind of
trouble.
worse.
Didn't mean to make
Yeah.
it crazy. No, I was like, can you?
Sorry.
I messaged Lee. I'm like, can you just move your camera down a little bit so you're more centered? And all of a sudden, we're taking a tour of the house. It's like,
Some cameras move easier than others. I have to move my whole monitor, so when I want to adjust, I gotta go. Whee!
oh yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
And now it's really bad. It's worse than it was before, actually.
it is.
Overcompensated.
All been there.
I'll just hold it. How about that?
That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting, so I'm not doing that.
I was about to take my
That's what it is.
camera off and show it to you. Then I was like,
That's not how that works.
I have an idea.
oh, look at that, just sitting.
There you go.
But yeah. So yeah, obviously, so we've identified a couple of the the strong points of paired programming, and how it can benefit, and you know overall it can be good practices if done properly. Um, the other side is some negatives of it, or I don't even want to say negatives, but more like not as positives, some neutrals of it. Um, it doesn't fully eliminate knowledge silos. So we want to stay away from silos as much as we can, but at the same time, in a selfish manner, you want to hold on to a silo a little bit because you want to be a subject matter expert that sticks around. Now, I saw like nods and shakes at the same time there, Lee. But we know this happens. I'm not saying it's proper practice to try to make your own silo or try to be the subject matter expert of something just to keep yourself around. But there are a lot of people out there that do that. They say, "I'm the only one that knows this. I'm not gonna let everybody else know it, or else I'm out of a job." Spirit, take care, man.
Take it easy, Spirit.
Um, so yeah, it doesn't fully eliminate that. You're still gonna have that option out, or that those people out there that are going to silo themselves, not want to pair a program just because they want to hold that knowledge. Um, so I was wondering, what would you guys think about, or what would be some suggestions? Again, not so much even just in a programming term or anything, but for someone who may be thinking, "Hey, the more I hold, the more valuable I am." Would you
I
have any
definitely have a
advice for that?
response,
Yeah.
but Lee, do you want to go first before I ramble?
So I would. I'm thinking of a particular
Hi, two,
scenario.
by the way. Two fur dogs here.
Um, I guess so. Initially, my thought is it depends partly on what you're holding on to.
Okay.
So if you're holding on to a piece of new technology that's going to be around for a while, I would say that's not necessarily bad.
Okay.
Um, I think there hopefully is still a willingness to share at least something of what you know about that technology with other people, though. At least giving them cursory introductions to it, or telling them how to find out additional information about that particular thing. I mean, if you're holding on to old technology, then you are limiting your career. You're going to find yourself, um, hopefully you have a safe home where you're at, because the number of places that have that thing you're holding on to are steadily on the decline.
Mhm.
And so if you get kicked out the door, then you're going to have a sad face because you're going to struggle to find things. And so if I saw that kind of scenario, I would invite that person into impromptu paired programming sessions and say, "Hey, let me show you this new thing we're doing that's going to touch the stuff that you work on."
Mhm.
So, and that might help them have some interest. Oh, it's going to touch my stuff. I should probably know what this thing is that Lee's doing.
Yeah.
Or at least some kind of understanding. And I think I would approach it that way. Just invite them in that scenario into learning new things with you, especially if they touch the things that are being held on to, that legacy stuff that's being held on to. So I don't know. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah. So, as far as people who collect information and try to make themselves a SME on something, or a silo, as you put it, uh, Grady, if I know how this works and I don't let anyone else touch this, then I'm more valuable and I get to stay.
Mhm.
First, if if it's ever the fact that this thing and no one else is allowed to see it, and that's the only reason why they're keeping you, you have a whole bunch of other problems that you need to figure out, right?
True.
Um, and I personally, as someone who's more than once decided to specialize in something, or to double down and learn something. I want to be, you know, the Pokemon song's playing in my head now. I want to be the very best, right? SQL Server, I choose you. And the next day, Kafka, I choose you. Uh, as you learn that, you get more dividends by sharing, right? Eventually it gets to the point where everyone in the room, hopefully, is an expert and each one has something they bring to the table.
Mhm.
We will all get more out of the cross pollination than anything. And you being a number one, the best at this technology, well, as Lee already said, you know, as that goes away, maybe that's not so useful. But if you're always learning, even if it's about that one thing, again, I have not had a problem choosing to specialize in something. Um, if while you're learning and you go on that journey, you keep sharing what you learned, everyone will look at you even more as someone who knows a lot because you're always sharing. You're always
Yes.
like, oh, did you know, by the way, the human brain weighs 5 pounds? That's not useful. But whatever is useful, right? And um, even if you learned that thing yesterday because you're on Pluralsight, they're like, I learned something again from Lee. When I was looking when I switched from the dark side of software engineering to the light of DBAdom, everyone
Is
says
that
that's the other way
is that
around.
how it go? I think it's the other way around.
It's the other way
I
around.
think, I think you got that
I
backwards.
love it though.
I don't
I'm a
think
very
we're the
happy
dark
Sith
side.
Lord. I'm a very happy Sith Lord. Oh, I wish I had a hoodie right now.
Yes, you are.
Um,
I'm more of a gray Jedi. Okay, just gonna say.
When you
I
switched.
I learned a lot working with Lee. And, you know, I constantly learned. If he didn't share with me and only gave me little crumbs, it would have been a totally different experience. And he still has specialties that I can't touch. But the whole time he was sharing with me, you will not run out of knowledge unless you're
Mhm.
purposefully not learning.
Yes.
So that's my rambling answer to that.
No, it's 100% true. Yeah, that's and I was going to talk about what Dunce brought up here. Um, yeah, having someone that
Yep.
keeps scripts themselves that are used to benefit the company.
And hide some away.
It's I don't want to say it's selfish because it is trying to benefit your career. I can see where the people are coming from, so I don't want to just straight up say like that's wrong. But I think I wouldn't be able to do that. I feel like I love sharing knowledge. Like I love being like, hey, look what I found. Um, or look what I automated. I've automated so much stuff, and if I didn't share those scripts, well, they would have just not had automation when I left. Like that seems
Yeah,
seems not
I kind of want to push
proper.
against that.
You want to push against that?
Yeah, so I will say that's kind of wrong. I again I understand you want to move up, but as I already mentioned, I don't think that's a healthy way to do it. And if processes,
No,
if
I'm not
you
saying
call
it's good.
in or you get a car accident, okay, if you call in or you get an accident or whatever, and the company is going to be because you were holding it up using these scripts or these tools or this whatever, and you just didn't want
Mhm.
anyone to know. So it's just like, how does he do it?
hmm
You're it's dangerous. That's not me.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
our purpose, other than just to pay our own bills, the trade-off for the value the company gives us is we're supposed to give them value.
Mhm.
And putting them at risk is not giving them value.
Yeah, if I came across as thinking that was right, no. I was just saying I can put myself in their shoes and see their
Oh,
perspective.
I
Yes.
get what you're trying to do. Get what
Yeah.
you're trying to do.
Yeah. I
And
could
I'm
never do
saying
it,
that's not a
but
healthy way to do that.
no,
That's
it's
not
not.
healthy.
It is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean yeah. I mean honestly, it's kind of an asshole move. Like we're allowed to cuss on Twitch, so that's a good time to use it. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Especially whenever it's so I can see. Let's say I'm doing some programming, or you guys are working on databases, whatever. And someone from outside IT comes in and says, "Hey, I need this, this, and this," or "I want to learn how to do this, this, and this," or "Can I watch you do this?" Then it's like No, I don't want to share my knowledge outside of IT of programming as much as the guy sitting next to me. I'd share it with other developers, with other IT members, um, but I'm not trying to give the details. Not what would they say? Don't you don't want to learn how the
Lose
sausage
the.
is made?
Oh yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what they say? Once they realize like some of the stuff that we do and some of the accesses we have and stuff, it seen from an outside perspective isn't always rewarding for them, I guess. They will either get overwhelmed or they'll realize that it's something that took you 10 minutes to do and it's you've been holding off for 2 months because it's not important enough to do next. So as full on transparent as I try to be, there are times you have to be the man behind the curtain that makes things happen without showing everybody exact levers you're pulling. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's a good way to explain it, but I like to keep my circle into IT, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Unless it's someone that wants to learn IT, as in like wants to come over to be a developer or they're looking to be a QA or something like that, then yeah, we can sit down and we can whatever. But I feel like once you start doing it just for an audience at work, they're not doing it to further their career. They're doing it because they got nothing else to do, or they're just want their problem fixed and they want it done quicker because they're sitting there. So you have to keep an eye on that as well. Where's my next? I had points and I just gave up on them. So
You could always summarize them at the end.
yeah. Welcome to the stream where the points don't matter and the rules are made up. Isn't that good? Yeah.
Who takes notes anyway?
No, yeah, I was on. So I was on like the silos or the pillar of knowledge that they call it. You want to try to eliminate those as much as possible. Don't be that person that holds on to one silo, especially like Lee was saying with any technology that isn't going to be around for the foreseeable future. And the more apt you are to share knowledge, the more likely someone else is going to be like, hey, I just heard this from Grady yesterday. Like, I'm going to go tell him about this thing I just learned. Like, you're more likely to be that person that people go to. Today I found a really cool technology that everybody else in the world probably knows about already. So you guys do remote desktops, right? To get into servers and what. So there's the remote desktop manager, right? I don't know if you guys ever use that where you can like click on all yours and it looks like a
Yep.
There's a free one. And it works exactly the same as remote desktop manager, except it doesn't require a license. So
nice. Okay.
I found that out today, and I could put a link to it in our Discord after this because I already forgot the name of it, but and there's a Discord. But yeah, so it just having that available because like I said, we're setting up servers. I was paired programming with someone and I saw it and I'm like, what is that?
What's that?
Why do you have all your like they had all their servers and tabs? I was like, that's amazing. You know how annoying it is having to drag your servers around the screens to make them not overlap enough. And so learned that today. Got it all set up. I think we're at like 19 servers that I have on the left side that we're setting up, and it's beautiful. So check out our Discord. I'll put a link in there later for you guys.
I'll be looking for that as well.
Definitely worth having. Like every now and then that technology comes by and you're like, how have I lived without this? Like I've just been being frustrated for no reason. Okay, that's good.
Are these all Windows machines? Windows?
Yeah, they're all Windows servers. 2016, I think we have on them.
Oh, it's pretty standardized. Cool.
Yeah, we just they just do a standardized loadout on them. But
I have a related suggestion, if you're interested. So,
yeah.
Did you know you could do a similar thing with Server Manager?
Continue.
Yeah. So in the server manager, I don't know what to call it. Applet. What's the right word?
Command.
GUI.
It's on it. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll say server manager GUI. You can actually create groups and um, add servers to a particular group. So if you have, I don't know, sets of web servers, for example, for a particular product, you could create a group with that product name and then add all the web servers to that particular group in Server Manager, and you have RDP capabilities and other stuff that you can do from Server Manager as well. So it's kind of interesting.
That's
So
good.
I'd throw that
Good
out there.
suggestion as well.
Cool.
Yeah, with this one, it's just it reminds me of like a Windows browser on the left side. You have the quick access, and I can just
Mhm.
make folders inside of folders, and then the connections inside
Yeah.
of those. So I have mine set up for. So we have like 4 products that we kind of work on. So each one of those is like the top folder, and then underneath that I have the locations of the servers, because we have like Kansas City and Chicago and all these different ones. And then underneath each one of those, I have the 3 connections for dev, UAT, and prod. And oh my God, it makes my life so much easier. Being like, I need to get on prod in Chicago. I'm like, it's right there in a folder structure. That's amazing. And everyone's probably like,
Nice.
yeah, it's been around forever. You're dumb, but it's fine.
No.
Any tricks
No
you
one-
can learn to benefit your workday, especially
yeah.
when it comes to your sanity of typing in and RDPing into so many machines. I'm like, I
Yeah,
will
the
make
server
it.
names can be hard.
Yeah, and ours
And
aren't friendly names. They're like dash this dot this dash dash. I'm like, oh,
dash. Isn't that Morse code?
I think they're all just in Morse code. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you bring up a good point. The one nice thing about peer programming is, yes, we can sit down and go, oh, I want people to learn about X and I want to teach them how to use tool Y. But when you pair programming and you're just doing your thing, there could be something you didn't realize someone else didn't know, or you don't really think about normally because you've used it for a while. And you do the thing or you use the tool and they go, yo, what was that? And you're like, oh, it's my manager for this, or it's like that. Or something new I've been playing with that you remind me of is it's called guacamole. And basically I could put it on a server. I'm not doing this at my current employer. I have for some pet projects, I'm using a lot of Linux servers. And so instead of RDPing into them, I put guacamole on there. And then on my local machine, now you're getting hungry, aren't you? On my local machine, I go to a web browser and I type in www.yada.com or whatever, enter, and now my Windows browser is an RDP session. It's not RDP, but it's a session. I see the the interface you would see if you RDP, and I can click and I can do stuff. I'm basically
Interesting.
routing in, to servers I have up on, like, let's say AWS or something.
Yep.
And I can access them like their computer. It's pretty
Nice.
The other thing, maybe throwing a link in the Discord might be useful in that, because that stuff, like a lot of us play around with side projects. If even if it's something we can't bring to our workplace, it's definitely new technology is always cool. So I like to mess with it.
I'm dropping in the general chat right now.
Perfect.
Guacamole.
They wrote a whole song about it. Anybody? No? Okay. It's a
No,
great song.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's
song.
okay.
It's like smash the avocado. Peel the avocado. I think it's peel the avocado, smash the avocado.
Nope.
Throw that in the Discord too. Probably find that faster than my other technologies that I'm actually using. No, Dunce, you sing it. I think, Dunce, you probably heard me singing sometime during our 24-hour stream, so you're fine. We did a 24-hour stream together. Me and Dunce. Man,
that sounds exciting and exhausting.
It was a day 1 raid of a game that we played, Destiny 2. And it was a long 24 hours. I think it actually went like 26 hours. But
wow, that's endurance. That's I I would have been like, oh, we made it to 24 hours and 1 minute. I'm out. See you guys later.
Meanwhile, all the Minecraft players are out there like amateurs.
Yeah.
Who needs sleep?
Yeah, well, this
And then
was
all
I
the-
streamed the whole thing too, which I always laugh because I told Twitch, or I tell people that Twitch thinks that I only either don't stream or stream 24 hours. That's all I do, one or the other.
Like this is a bot. This has to be a bot.
If you're wanting to play a game and not sleep, you could always try Access and Allies.
It's a good one.
I've yet to play that. As a Risk fan, I should have.
Really?
But I
Yeah, I was
haven't
saying
played it.
Yeah,
that's like
it's a
the
great
natural
game.
progression from Risk is Access and Allies.
Yeah.
We used to play in the military all the time, and we had our officers on each team
kinda-
because they went to
It's kind
school
of
for
meta.
battle straddle. Well, the people that are officers, you have to go to college to get a degree to become an
Yeah.
officer. Well, a lot of them had degrees for like battle strategies or
That's just cool.
like
I don't know how useful
war,
that is outside
war
military,
history. I don't know what they call that one, but it's like the histories of wars.
military history or something
Yeah.
like that.
So they come in with like all these battle strategies from like they're like, all right, well, in the War of 1812, this. I'm like, okay, and they
I
set
play-
it all up like that. I'm like, this is awesome.
As a young man, I played paintball a couple times with friends, and one of those friends, left, graduated high school, went off to military, came back. We played. He was a sniper. You ever paintball with a sniper? They're gone, and then all of a sudden you get hit. It's like they don't even have a scope on it or anything. But yeah, I don't know where the heck the paintballs are coming from, but there. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
He was
we
the
took
last
my
person on
son
his team.
paintballing the other day for his birthday, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of friends that I don't like that he has that felt good to go paintballing with him. He's 10. At that age, you're allowed to shoot him with paintballs and not feel bad, so it's fine.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's good to know.
That's the age, 10. It's in the
Okay.
rule book. You guys, you got it right. The rule book when you became parents.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
You got the
Sure.
anyway. Not that we've
Paired
gone on
programming.
ridiculous of a tangent, but pair programming. Welcome
programming
to
sounds
stream,
good, paintball.
everybody. I don't know where we are anymore. But yeah, so I mean, essentially, I just wanted to bring it up as a really just get your guys' opinions and how it kind of fits into your work style, and if you feel that it would be more beneficial for your work style to fit it in more. So that was like one thing I wanted to see with you guys.
I mean, I definitely think so. I mean, I'm the one that was saying it's more impromptu than anything else, but I think on a dev team or a data team, having some of that, how this fits in with infrastructure, right? I don't know, but I think with the more creative building, for all the reasons we mentioned, I think it's a good thing. I don't know about 4 hours a day, but I mean, it sounds like it's working great for you. But I mean, at least
Yeah, and see
X hours is sprints,
Yeah, and that's different for obviously each person's title. I think it is like as developer, 4 hours a day for me is fine. Like, I mean, when I get in a zone, I'll stare at a computer without talking for 2 hours if I'm programming by myself easily. Like that's an easy drop in the bucket that I realize, oh crap, it's lunch.
2
I thought-
hours of straight work.
I thought it just started.
Jobless.
But yeah, so so I feel like 4 hours when you're talking with someone. I mean, think about our streams. So we've had 2 hour streams and not even thought about like, oh, that was 2 hours. Like when you're talking about something and you're discussing a problem, you're trying to find a solution. At the same time, you're talking as friends. Like we're all just talking.
Sure.
So even when I'm developing, doing paired programming, we're still just hanging out. Like it's not constant stare at the screen and tell me what you think is next. And a lot of it is just, blowing the breeze. Is that
Sure.
a term?
Shooting the breeze.
Shooting the
Shooting the
breeze.
breeze. Yeah.
I don't know what you
I
were
blame
just
the
saying.
paint in the basement. I swear to God. Anyway.
The one
Shooting
thought
the
I had
trees?
in terms of, Grady, you asked about how this might fit in. I think there's, or could be, maybe we'll see what you guys think. An
Mhm.
interesting relationship between this paired programming concept and cross training and agile teams. So I think that, and this goes back to silos we talked about even earlier. I think that most places could improve by cross training intentionally, and not meaning that they schedule a time where the DevOps person is going to show the DBA what they do, but getting it in everyone's head that their knowledge isn't just theirs, and that they should share it and why they should share it, so that when they're doing something cool and interesting, they'll think, oh, I should show this to Michelle because she might find this interesting, or I should show this to Jim Bob because he could probably use this,
Mhm.
or I know he could use this. I'm going to show him what I'm doing, and then I'm going to tell him how I think he could use it in his discipline.
Yeah.
If you had that as just a general mindset at your company, then I really think it could be a powerful thing, and you would be doing paired programming without forcing it to happen, kind of
Mhm.
thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. That's you know, like we were saying earlier, the transparency of, what am I doing and how can I help you, as opposed to what are you doing and how can you help me. Um, I think getting that mentality of trying to share what you know to be helpful, not to be braggy, not to, whatever, not to benefit yourself in more than the fact that you're benefiting those around you.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you get a whole company like that, I feel like that'd be a freaking smart company, like everybody's sharing
Yeah.
everything they know. Like, yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't want to go too deep into this. It's more of a uh, just more of an inquiry on how we can improve at this point. So we kind of went over what it is, obviously, and then how we currently use it. And Anthony, like you said, you think it would be more beneficial to do it at least sometimes. So what would you say would be some examples in your workday where you could make more of an effort for this to happen?
Um, I I definitely think that as someone who ended up having a lot of knowledge siloed under me, um, and knowing how that works and why that's bad, when I'm going to work on a thing, um, I grab someone and say, "Hey, I'm the work on this peer program, and I can drive, and they can watch, over my shoulder, so to speak."
Mm-hmm.
In fact, recently I suggested that same thing. I never used the term pair programming, but I said there's some work we want to do on pipeline, and I'm like, hey, I'm the only one that touches this. If we're wanting to do this, let's schedule it for a time where so and so is available,
Mm-hmm.
and that way I can work, they can watch, and that's basically pure programming, right?
Yep.
And they can go, well,
Yeah.
why that? Why this? What were you thinking? I was drunk. Forgive me. Whatever. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, right?
I mean,
I happen to be a employee who shrank a little bit and then started growing a lot. So it's there's a lot of us who are silos, and we need to share that.
yep. Yeah, and I mean we've all been a part of a company that has someone who does not share a silo, and you may not realize it, but if this sentence rings a bell with you, people are siloing, and the sentence is, "Oh, that's so and so's thing."
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. There's no reason that a singular employee should have maintaining. I mean, let me not go too far. Obviously, if you're a DBA, you're going to be maintaining a lot more than someone who's under you. But there's no reason a single employee should have knowledge that is beneficial to the company that isn't shared between someone else.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. It's very applicable for for DBAs. I mean, listen, DBAs do all kinds of things. I mean, there's all flavors of database administrators.
Mhm.
Some are more on the development side where they like to build tables and write sort of procedures and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're development DBAs. They build things for applications to use. Some of those folks also happen to maintain servers. Some of those, some DBAs are mostly or even entirely infrastructure. They keep things running. They keep them running when they're slow. They're the person that jumps on when the fire erupts. But all of those people hopefully have some shared knowledge with someone else, because we hopefully take our vacation hours, at least some of them, and most of us are not in the last job we're ever going to be at. So when we leave, hopefully someone else has at least some sense of knowledge of the things that we do. Um, there's SOX auditing that happens, Sarbanes-Oxley auditing. There are specialty things in high availability and disaster recovery, like always on availability groups or failover clustering or whatever. And then when you add that stuff to things like cloud, there are certain things that you do in AWS or Azure in order to do failover clustering. Hopefully you're sharing that information, or hopefully we as DBAs are sharing that information or documenting, so that if I don't have time to walk you through, I can at least give you a link to a Word doc or to Confluence article or something, so that when I'm on vacation and there's a problem, you're not just left hanging out to dry.
Yes.
That's the worst.
Mhm.
Like we talked about earlier. So absolutely relevant to my world as well.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point there. We talk about things like, what if something happens? What if I get fired? What if, how is that knowledge going to get passed on? But yeah, there are plenty of times that people are out for a week. Like that's
Yeah.
very common. So
I mean, I
when
hope
you're
it
out,
is.
well, yeah, it's probably not as common as it should be for our field. But when someone's out, do you, let's say you're the one that's out, do you really want to get a phone call asking you what's going on because you didn't share your information and you're the only one that knows this? It's like, I would rather someone else know this so that I don't get that call. So that's a really good point there too. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was this topic was more, I knew it was more going to be a shorter topic, but I'd like to hear from the chat about specific times that they may have pair programmed or worked with an employee to share knowledge. You can either put it here or in the Discord. Either way, just we'll go over it when we see them. But yeah, so we're at 8:20, I believe.
Yeah.
8:20.
Yeah.
We want to look
Central.
for someone to raid.
Yeah, I was say I can go ahead and shoot the raid over while you guys want to do closing.
Sure.
If you guys are good, if you have more to say or more things to bring up, I'm also fine with that. But this was the natural ending of my topic. So
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have no more.
No, I mean, I don't know if do you have any closing points, Lee? I mean, I feel like from my point of view, we've covered all the things. I think it's super interesting. Not every company likes it. We joked earlier about the fact that, the project manager says, but I can have two people working on separate things. And yeah, you want that sometimes, but there's benefits to having them collaborate on something. Collaboration is a big thing.
I just wish more.
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't have a way to tie it all in a nice bow with a list of pros and cons at this point, but it's definitely been an interesting conversation that I had more in common with than I realized.
Yay!
So that was good for me. So.
See how that works when you talk to people about things and you learn.
Yeah,
because there's multiple positions and inputs.
That's right.
It's amazing.
I agree. It is amazing.
Sorry, I'm
Cool.
not supposed to be talking right now. I'm supposed to be looking for someone to read.
Yeah, choose someone to raid. Yeah, so everyone, I appreciate all the people we've got some more followers. In fact, I think we're some followers, someone we've worked with in the past. So yay, Andrew.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's very cool.
Yeah, someone we all work with and got excited when we saw that actually. So keep talk about this to anyone else who's interested. Have them join us live so we can talk about things. The next stream next week on Thursday, I believe it's the 20th. We're answering questions that were submitted. So I got a couple questions via email. We got questions popping up in Slack. We'll try our best to answer them, and I thought it'd be interesting to cover. So if you haven't already, send some of them in.
Discord. You got questions over Discord.
What I say?
Slack.
Discord.
Maybe people are messaging him on Slack too.
Yeah, okay.
I got questions off of, and this somehow I'll say right. I got questions via email, got questions via LinkedIn, and I got questions via Discord.
Awesome.
So
that's good.
Yeah, but yeah, tell your friends. We're trying to get a bunch of people together and talk and hang out about this stuff. Doesn't matter if they're in IT or IT curious or whatnot.
Yep.
Bring it. We need people. And then if you miss the show, we're putting them on. We're putting the streams on YouTube.
Yep. Make sure you go check us out on Twitter and all that stuff. And yeah, I hopefully see more people in Discord, which would be cool. Yeah. So I found Ray. We're gonna go raid a fellow gray bearded man, and you can't see my grays when we do Zoom meetings, by the way. So I like.
He has a filter for that.
I like this little thing that goes on. That gets rid of my grays. But
yeah,
he's actually playing Jackbox, which we were discussing before the stream. Jackbox is a game that you can play with friends, and it's a very simple setup, real low learning curve, and yeah, check him out. Drop that follow over there, and we will catch you guys next week.
Let's do it.
Same
Bye,
bat
everybody.
time, same
Bye.
bat channel.